32 Innings Podcast. Sports analysis.
Interviews.
Entertainment reviews.
And everything in between.
Yo, what's that word? 32 Innings Podcast, episode 89, big 89. We're getting close to that 100 range, my guy. How you doing tonight?
Good, chilling. Just changing my name on the title right quick while we get into it.
For sure. With that, we'll open up with our Reddit warm-up. Like we said, we're going to double back on y'all this week. Reddit warm-up tonight will be for male and female. So I guess you can answer first for whichever one you want to, male or female. When do you think is a good, what age is too old to not cut off, but like stop your reproductive organs from working? For male and female. And if it's different, that's okay too.
For me, not. I'm on kid number 4. But nah, honestly, obviously, it's like, I think it kind of just depends on how you can cope with all the kids you got and what you think would be too much. But I honestly don't think many people should be having kids past the age of like 40, 45. Because at that point, you liable, like, your health starts to deteriorate. You don't even really know how long to live for. And then you got these kids you're supposed to be taking care of. You don't know who's going to take care of them when you're gone. Because I'm pretty sure you being a parent, you feel nobody can take care of your kids better than what you can. I mean, they're your kids. But yeah, 25 is like the limit, I think, for girls to get like their tubes tied or something. But I really just feel like it's when you kind of feel like, you kind of pushing the limits with your kids. Cause not right now, me, I'm done.
Yeah.
So.
I feel you. I would say for men, I agree it's more of a like what you can handle type situation. I think you laid it out well for the reasons why. Yeah. So a minimum age that I would put for men is, man, I think 35, 40 was a good age. That should go into it. Like you said, I feel like I'm done too. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to, like you laid out, after you're 40, you just don't know. So, as you get older, it's like, you need to start back refocusing on yourself, in my opinion. Like giving more of the time to yourself, mental, physical health, and ultimately like continuing on your progress in your career so you could, build up a foundation and a good, solid estate and stuff like that as you age, as your family ages, as your kids age, so you'll be able to take care of them, because obviously as you get older, you're not going to want to work as much, and I damn sure won't want to be chasing around no jits. A minimum age for women, honestly, I don't think women should ever get rid of their reproductive organs, just because you're born with all the eggs you're going to have. So, you know what I mean? If, naturally women slow down, or it becomes more of a risk once they get around 40 anyways. So I think they should just hold on to those, and it should be up to the man to take responsibility to say if we're going to have them kids or not, because we all grown here. It's very preventable if you don't want to have a jit. Like if you, at this point, if you want to have a jit, you be reckless and you have a jit, in my personal opinion. But let us know in the comments how y'all feel about it, and we go forward from there. And we understand that everybody has their rights. I want to say that for anybody watching this.
Yeah, don't cancel me. Hey, I'm pro rights. Whatever you want. Hey,
for sure.
It ain't finna affect me.
Facts.
Live your life.
Facts. Our first topic we can get into, because it's the longest one. We're going to do a full team overview of our team. my team being the New York Jets, my guys' team being the New York Giants. We'll go section by section, going back and forth. Let us know in the comments about y'all team on these sections and how y'all feel, if y'all share the same team or just our analysis in general. So we'll start off with my boy Chalil. The first section we'll discuss is a season recap. So we'll talk about the record, their strengths and weaknesses. Tell us a little bit about the New York Giants.
Sheesh. A little bit about their record: 3-14. Last place in their division, if I'm not mistaken. Really didn't have. I mean, there was bright spots during the season with the young talent that we have, but for the most part, it was a shit show. My opinion, I think there's a lot of stuff that needs to get fixed. Can't talk about playoffs. Was nowhere near making the playoffs. But I like Tyrone Tracy Jr. I really like the rookie draft class that they brought in. I think Theo Jackson, the tight end, is going to wind up being a big part for the Giants. I mean, I didn't expect the Giants to compete for a playoff spot, but I did expect them to be a little bit better than what I was seeing. But honestly, I'm accustomed to it as a Giants fan. I mean, I'm going to hold on to them 2 Super Bowls for as long as I can at this point.
I definitely feel you on that, man. Not much difference with my team, New York Jets. Was actually expecting to make the playoffs with some avenues of the world, expecting us to make a Super Bowl push. But at minimum, it should have been the playoffs. And when you're not performing up to those expectations, you get fired. And that's what happened to our coaching staff and our front office. We replaced them guys and we clean house. Our record was 5-12. Our strength, in my opinion, were our pass defense and our offensive line, surprisingly. And our weaknesses was our rush defense, our QB play, and our coaching. So important aspects of a football team. Obviously, like I said, we clean house on the coaching staff, and our rush defense to me was our biggest disappointment. We were expected to be pretty good in defense overall. But yes, our next section will be the current roster state. So first thing we'll talk about is key players under contract.
Okay. So key players under contract, and that's just from this past year's team, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. I like obviously the rookie class. You gotta, you do good with them. I think they need to figure out what they want to do and what direction they want to move with Evan Neal. And then Kayvon Thibodeau as well. There's a good couple edge pieces in the draft that if they're not all in on Kayvon Thibodeau, I think they have to, while he's in better position to be traded now or something sooner rather than later. Brian Burns is locked down. I feel like he's going to be a centerpiece to their offense, him and Dexter Lawrence. For that defense. We also have Deonte Banks. He took a step back this year. Hopefully, it's that sophomore year slump that most players go through. As far as that's pretty much the bright spots under contract for me.
Yeah, our team involved a lot of the 2022 draft class as well. Of course, you got Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, Breece Hall, Quentin Williams, Quincy Williams, and Elijah Vera Tucker for me. Breece Hall, I don't know if I said them as well, but a lot of those guys, they keep players under contract. We got to do what we can to keep coaching them up to get them to the all-pro talent that they display. Of course, a couple of those players are already pro bowlers and all-pro players. How do you feel about your some pending free agents or some guys that are likely to be cut from the Giants?
There's really not anything too kind of crazy. I know, Brodrick Jackson's gone. Jason Pinnock's a free agent. Brodrick Jackson wasn't bad, but, Father Time finna catch up to him. Jason Pinnock was a decent piece. And then you got, Graham Gano, who I don't know what the heck was going on. I don't know how many kickers these boys had this year. Between him, 1 second. They got rid of Darren Waller, Mark Glowinski. I feel like they can kind of move towards getting rid of him. And then another there's Isaiah Simmons, who I think he's a pending free agent as well. He's one of those, Swiss Army knives on the defensive end. I just don't feel like he was kind of getting used right with the Giants, and they were kind of inconsistent with his play time for him to be able to make any kind of impact. And then Bobby Okereke, he had a decent season. I kind of expected more from him after seeing what he was doing with the Colts and everything. So that's just kind of some things to think about for the Giants, kind of with the direction that they want to go. If they want to kind of go for a complete rebuild, kind of try to go all in with the draft and free agency to try to compete next year.
Sure. Some pending key free agents for the Jets. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers, obviously. Devontae Adams, Alan Lazard, DJ Reed, my bad. Alan Lazard is not a pending free agent. But he's about to be on the market, guys, if you're out there. DJ Reed, Hassan Reddick, definitely another guy, got to be on the market. Tyron Smith, he took a step back. Javon Kinlaw, Ashton Davis, Tyler Conklin, and Morgan Moses. So, to me, those were the notable guys. Obviously, you got 2 tackles. We picked up Alu Fashanu in the first round last year. So I think he's going to slide in for Tyrone Smith, pause. And then, we might have to go draft. We might have to go draft for that right tackle position and see what's going on there. But, yeah, those are some of our key free agents. Next, we'll kind of discuss a little bit about the salary cap situation. I know you mentioned some cap casualties for the New York Giants. I'll just go real quick on the Jets. Right now, we got $20.9 million in cap space, so not much. That ranks 20th in the league. After a lot of cuts, we projected to have $55 million in cap space, which is it's a nice little penny in cap space. So we can move on to the give me 1 second. Cap casualties for the Jets. So Alan Lazard for sure. Yeah, I ain't write it down. I'm just go off the top. So Alan Lazard for sure. Devontae Adams for sure. Not for sure. Hopefully we could trade him. It was reported we're trying to trade him today. Other than that, Michael Clemens. Since we want to develop Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson is coming back, and Thomas Morstead, the punter. Cutting those guys, again, that'll get us closer to that $55 million range, which obviously we're a team that still believes we can compete, honestly. I do still believe we're a couple pieces away, but, we'll get to my record predictions at the end of this situation. So let's talk a little bit about our free agency strategy. I did mine as a top 3 needs. What were your top needs for the Giants?
For free agency?
Yep.
They need a quarterback. They got no quarterbacks on the depth chart. That's like the top thing. They need to get some more O-line depth, whether it be starters or reserves. And then their secondary.
I feel that. The Jets' top needs in free agency, obviously I put quarterback too, and I did mine based upon if I would rather them get a certain position in the draft or free agency, or if they can help out both, like you said, depth-wise. So number 1 for me, same thing, quarterback. We need quarterbacks in the Big Apple. Aaron Rodgers, he is over with for him, and there's no heir apparent. So I thought Jordan Travis had the chance to be that, but it came out today that per Rich Samini that they tried to rush him back last year from his surgery recovery that he suffered at Florida State. Therefore, he suffered a setback, and they're optimistic he can be ready by the start of the season, meaning he's going to miss his spring conditioning. He's going to miss a lot of practice time. He's going to miss the mini camps as far as on the field work projected to be right now, potentially preseason. And that just sucks, man. I got to see a lot of JT while he was at Florida State, and I think he has a chance, but I don't think it's going to be his year. And it's dangerous to think we're going in with Tyrod Taylor as the starter. My other two needs were tight end. Tyler Conklin is a free agent. He was middle of the pack. I think we can upgrade there. And then defensive tackle. 3 of our top 4 defensive tackles were in the casual or in the pending free agents, including Javon Kinlaw, Solomon Thomas, and Leaky Foto. And our run defense ranked 20th overall anyway, so we need a lot of help there. Sticking to the free agency narrative, let's go with who are some, if you give me 2 or 3 big splash options for the Giants to potentially pick up, who you have in mind?
1 second. I know off the rip, one guy would be Javon Holland. It's come out that the Dolphins more than likely aren't going to franchise tag him. Like I said, we need help at the safety position. He's proven to be a ball hawk, great instincts on the ball. Definitely help, as he can be one of the captains on the defensive end. He's been in the league long enough to kind of know what's going on. Giants secondary the Giants defense gave up 210 yards per game last year. So anything would help. He's young, he can grow with the team. That's one guy. Another guy that I can kind of see coming in on the secondary as well is a former Jet in DJ Reed. Throughout his years as a Jet, he's shown glimpses that he can be one of, not an elite cornerback, but, towards the good, great cornerbacks in the league. And he can also, help kind of develop Deontay Banks, kind of take on that role like how he did with Sauce Gardner, kind of leading him in that direction. And then, just for the hell of it, Stephon Diggs, he's 31, coming off injury. He has ties to Dabble. Even at 31, he's still probably one of the best route runners in the league. He's going to give you production day in and day out. And, it'd be great for Malik Neighbors to kind of learn off of him. It'd take a lot of pressure off of Neighbors, as he wouldn't be seeing, double teams and stuff, as he is one of the best receivers in the league at this point, in my opinion. Just those 3.
I feel that. I also considered a few of those names. I think a lot of our needs are actually similar.
New York City.
For my big splash options, I went with Milton Williams for one. He's a defensive tackle for the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, one of their best players on that defensive line. Obviously, I don't think they're going to pay him to come back, considering they've drafted so well along that defensive line. And I know they want to get those first rounds and early round draft picks playing time to see how much they want to pay him in free agency. He'd be a great plug-and-play guy next to Quinnen Williams. But ultimately, I don't know if we're going to have enough to afford that boy. But that's why these splash signs. Then, actually, number 2, I went with Javon Holland as well. The Miami Dolphins didn't have as good as a year last year as it was previously, coming off a knee injury. But we need help on the back end. I believe our top 4 safeties are all free agents, so we need guys that are available to step in there, and especially with, again, how you say how long he's been in the league, the way he picks up coverage assignments and being a leader on that back end, we could definitely use that help. And then my third was Carlton Davis.
Okay.
Our head coach came from the Lions, so he got an up close and personal view. He was the defensive coordinator for the Lions, so he got an up close and personal view of Carlton Davis. He's a great man coverage player. I believe the Jets are going to keep a similar man coverage type scheme that we had before. And him next to Sauce Gardner, I think they'll be able to form one of the top, if not the top, cornerback tandem in the NFL, but one of the top at a bare minimum. Did you have some realistic signings, or was that it for the Giants free agency for you?
Well, with the cap room they're gonna have, like if they make the projected cuts, they should have around 70 mil. I feel like they can kind of use that towards getting the O-line better. One guy I was looking at was Will Freeze, O-lineman for the Colts. He's a New York native out of Staten Island, my hometown actually. And you know, he ranked pretty good, and I actually have his ranks right here. So, where is it at? So he was ranked in run blocking. He was ranked 4th among all guards and 10th in pass blocking in PFF. His season was cut short due to some leg injury, but he would be kind of replacing Greg Van Roten. He's 34. He's an unrestricted free agent for the Giants. Let's see. Joe Runyon didn't really have a good season at all. I think this was like his second worst season as far as PFF rating at 56.1. And then their second year center, John Michael, he improved from his rookie year, but it's still pretty bad at 51.4 PFF rating. And then Jermaine Elminor, he was decent with a 63.2 grade. Like I said, it's not enough. So, you know, and especially coming from the Colts, who have one of the best O-lines in the league, I feel like the Giants should start investing that money, especially if in the draft they're leaning towards going quarterback.
I feel it. Man, I heard a report today. They was leaning towards trying to get in on Rodgers.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah,
I hope not.
I hope not for you. Some of my realistic signings, I do believe Carlton Davis is a realistic signing. I think he'll want to return to his former DC, who's not, again, head coach of the Jets, Aaron Glenn. I picked Javon Hargrave. He was once the top free agent in general a couple of seasons ago. D tackle for the 49ers. Again, we really need that help along the defensive line for that run defense. And then I put, it's been hard to say his name, but Dayo Youngbo, something like that, DN for the Colts. He had 34 combined QB hits and sacks over the past 2 years. I do believe in Will McDonald and Jermaine, but you always need depth coming off that edge. You know, you want to, Jermaine coming off a major injury. I expect him to come back strong. Hopefully that brother come back strong. And, I really believe in the FSU legend Jermaine Johnson. But Will, I think him and Will still need a little bit of time to develop, to get that chemistry back. And I think Dayo would be a good, nice addition to the team for a realistic price tag as a pass rush specialist. Just real quick, some value pickups would be Kevin Settler from the Lions. He's an offensive guard. I think that'll allow us to move Elijah Vera Tucker around a little bit till our needs. Plus, he played for the Lions. Again, another Aaron Glenn connection. And our new OC, that's another connection there, who also came for the Lions. Talano Hufanga, safety for the 49ers. Plays a reckless style, but again, we need safeties for the Jets. And he's going to be playmaker. I think we're going to be pretty good in the middle with our linebackers and in our cornerback room. But again, we need safeties. And then finally, Hollywood Brown. I don't expect him to return to the Chiefs. I think they got a younger option that does similar things and probably is better at this point than Xavier Worthy. So Garrett Wilson, he's a great route runner, great at intermediate routes. We get a burner over the top, and then we have Gibson in the slot, or Corley, my bad. Xavier Gibson and Malachi Corley, who we drafted in the 3rd round last year. I think that'll be make for a pretty decent receiving corps. even though I think we should add to it, and we're going to holler about that one later. Moving on. Okay, yeah, we did do the cap management. Let's skip to the NFL draft. So if you can tell us what picks the Giants got, we can move forward.
Off the top of my head, sure. They got pick 3, round 1, pick 3, round 2, pick 34, round 3, pick 65, round 4, pick 103, round 4, pick 133. And that's expected to be like a compensation pick. Round 5, pick 155. Round 7, pick 221. Round 7, pick 248.
I got about 10 picks, 10, 11 picks.
Yeah, fuck it up somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. In the first, we got the 7th. In the second, we got the 42. In the third, we got the 92nd. 92nd. In the fourth, we got the 109th. In the fifth, we have 2, which is the 146 and the 157. In the sixth, we got 188. In the seventh, we got 209 via the Chiefs. And I do expect us to pick up more compensatory picks when we let a lot of these guys walk in free agency. For y'all that don't know, that's how you pick up compensatory picks. You let free agents walk. But with what we got right now, we're talking a little bit about the draft. What do you think that the Giants should do as far as trade potential with their picks? If anything.
If they are looking to draft a quarterback, or depending on what quarterback they're looking, I kind of think it depends on who they go and get. If they get a quarterback signing before the draft, whether it be Aaron Rodgers, Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson, I think that kind of plays a role on what they're going to decide to do, and kind of how these pro days are going to go for the two supposed to be top quarterbacks in Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. Me personally, I don't see them trading away the pick unless it's to move up. And I just think, honestly, moving up 2 spots, you probably have to give, obviously, your first round pick, probably a third, 4th round pick, stuff like that. I just don't think it's worth it at this point, especially since I think one of the top 3 quarterbacks in this draft is Jackson Dart, who I believe they might have a chance to get if they can trade up in the later rounds of the first round. So at pick 3, I don't see them making any trades with that, at least.
Yeah, I actually wrote, as far as trade potential for the Jets pick, I said let the board come to them. I don't want to make any trades in this draft. I believe this is a really deep draft, but more so at the defensive tackle, which is a premium position, corner. It's deep at every position except for quarterback, in my opinion. And me personally, I agree with your answer that it depends on what we do in free agency. I personally want this to be a gap year for quarterback because the 2026 draft is much more loaded. I don't expect us to be one of the top picks in the draft. You know what I'm saying? That'll be real tap. But I believe if you're going to trade some picks, I would rather do it next year to move up to get some of the potential guys you have then. Of course, guys like Arch Manning are going to be in the draft next year, I suspect. But I just expect it to be a stronger draft overall. And I don't believe there's a franchise quarterback in this draft, personally. Could be wrong, but I personally don't. I was wrong about Jaden Daniels, so you never know. But I personally don't think there's a franchise quarterback in this draft. So your draft priorities. What are some draft priorities for the New York Giants?
It'd honestly be the same thing as free agency, honestly. Because in free agency, you're not going to get everything you need. Mostly, like I said, there's some older veteran quarterbacks out there. Like you said, that if we can pick up, Jameis Wilson, Russell Wilson, or even Aaron Rodgers, I guess, that you don't really have to draft a quarterback in this year's draft, which I believe opens up a lot more possibilities for the Giants to fill what I believe can be bigger needs. As you said, next year's draft class, or next year's quarterback draft class, I feel has a whole bunch of talent. So So yeah, that another edge rusher, and then O-line. So
Yeah. I think you talked me into Jameis being a good option for the Jets too. I think he'd be.
well, I mean, how I see it is the Giants would be excited. We still lose, but the Giants gonna be excited.
Yeah.
Jameis gonna air that shit out.
For sure.
So,
And I think he's a good culture setter too. Like Jameis.
oh yeah.
Despite college and stuff like that, he's a national championship champion in college. He's a fantastic leader. I got to watch him. He didn't spend too much time at Florida State, but all 3 of his years, man, he was definitely that guy. He's charismatic as they come. I think he's a guy that got the potential to be a head coach one day, to be honest. But shout out to Jameis.
For sure.
For the New York Jets, our draft priorities, again, very similar to our free agent needs. I went defensive line, tight end, safety, wide receiver, and maybe ownership group. Now I'm just flagging, but I think those are our needs in the draft, and I think this is a strong draft class for those needs right there. With that, we'll move on to a mock draft for our teams. And we got 2 more sections to round out our teams. Who you have on a mock draft?
Round 1, pick 3. I got the Giants picking the best athlete on the board. Like you said, I don't really feel like either quarterback option is gonna bring us to the promised land year 1 or this year. So I feel like we go with the best available, in Travis Hunter. He can play both ends of the ball or both ends on the field. I feel like he'd be better to be used as a cornerback, kind of just on that opposite side of Deontay Banks. And, maybe wide receiver, maybe come in and play those big down possessions, kind of get it in that way. But like I said, he.
No, I was gonna say we'll go round by round.
Yeah. So I got Travis Hunter there. Like I said, I feel like he's the best athlete on the board. He has some of the highest upside and potential, and you're going to get a dog and a baller out of him.
Yeah. I wonder, I'm not sure if he chose not to run the 40. I would have been interested to see his time personally. Probably around in the 4.4s though. For our first round pick, the New York Jets faithful, I went with, it's going to be hard to say his name. Again, some of these guys, y'all got some names in this motherfucker, like Webby said. I went with Tataria McMillan, wide receiver for Arizona. 6'5", elite contested ball catcher, more like 80-20 when it's in the air for him. Me personally, I think he's the best wide receiver in the draft, including Travis Hunter. But if we can't get him, meaning he goes, somewhere before us, another pick I had was Kenneth Grant in the first round. I would have put Mason Graham right here. He's in a lot of mock draft us. I don't think he's going to slide that far. I don't think Jacksonville let him slide to the 7th pick when they got the 5th pick, and they have a major need along the defensive line as well. So I went with his running mate at Michigan, Kenneth Grant, 6'3", 350 pounds, super athletic. We could definitely use that besides Kenneth Williams to form a dominant defensive tackle duo. Who'd you have in the second round?
Xavier Watt, safety from Notre Dame. Coming off back-to-back 7 interception seasons. He was the leader of that secondary. Great instincts and on-ball skills. He had an 89.3 coverage grade in 2024 in college, which was second highest among safeties in this year's class. And like I said, we need all the secondary help we can get, and I feel like he's somebody that can come in and be a day 1 starter.
I rock with that heavy. I went with Joshua Farmar, my Florida State guy, defensive tackle. If we can't get Kenneth Grant, I think he'd be a nice piece to pair along with Quentin Williams again. And then if we can't get him, I had Elijah Arroyo, tight end. I do think we need to secure a tight end. A tight end is one of the best positions in this draft class. I almost went with Tyler Warren at number 7 overall. So if we miss out on him, I expect Loveland to be gone. If we can pick up Elijah Arroyo, who, went to those guys, Miami. I think it'd be a nice piece. Who did y'all have for the third round, my guy?
Jonah Savanea, tackle out of Arizona. Once again, fitting the need of something that we need. He has 3 years starting experience over at Arizona. Great in pass protection. He's has 1,544 career pass blocking snaps, and in those snaps he allowed 8 sacks and 5 quarterback hits.
I feel that 100%. I do think we have to bring in a young gun. If that setback didn't happen for Jordan, I would have been against it. But if he's not going to be ready to go, we got to take a swing at some point. And so I went with Quinn Ewers. I think I'm a bigger fan of Quinn than a lot of people. I think he has the arm talent. I think he has the leadership. Got to get a bit more accurate, but, I like his potential as an arm. Even if he's the long-term backup, I do think he has starter upside, though. So I went with Quinn. And if we can't get Quinn, I like Dorian Strong, cornerback from Virginia Tech. We need help with DJ Reed. Basically saying goodbye to the Jets, to be honest, and when he left. And we need somebody else over there opposite of Sauce Gardner in between. Well, we got Margaret Carter the second in between. We just need another outside corner. I did mine up to the 4th round. I know you probably did more, so I'll just finish mine out for the mock draft for the Jets real quick. I went with Arian Smith, wide receiver from Georgia. Again, same thing as I mentioned with Hollywood Brown. He's an excellent deep threat. I believe he was underutilized at UGA due to their scheme, which is a good scheme. It's going to get you some natties, but ultimately I don't think it's does favors for wide receivers and things of that nature. So I went with Arian Smith for a 4th round pick.
My 4th round pick, I only went up to about 4 anyway too, so it'll be good. I had the Giants taking Riley Leonard, cornerback from Notre Dame. He has the starting experience. I mean, he's old as hell. But he played a great role in with Notre Dame, leading them to that national championship game. As a passer and a rusher, he was highly efficient in that short run or that short game. What was it? He posted an 83.9% adjusting completion rate on throws from 0 to 9 yards. And he's a big physical runner. Kind of, like one guy that didn't work out in Daniel Jones, but like I said, we don't have any quarterbacks on the depth chart, so it's kind of just starting to.
Tommy DeVito.
Nah, he a free agent too.
Hey, I feel
there's 0 on the depth chart right now.
Yeah, they really got to reset the board there. It's kind of funny because Riley Leonard and Daniel Jones, they both went to Duke.
Yep.
And they both have similar
games.
Yeah, I feel you. Moving on, and tell us how, again, call to action, man. Tell us how y'all feel about these breakdowns for the team. Let us know a bit about y'all teams. Let's chop it up, create conversation. Moving on to our last few sessions for this, we got the coaching staff. I'll start off new everything for the Jets. We didn't live up to expectations, so everybody got to go. We got Aaron Glenn as head coach. I expect discipline, a culture reset for him, and I think we needed that coming in. Then for O-line, offensive coordinator, we had Tanner Engstrand, who was the pass game coordinator for the Lions. I think he's going to bring a lot of what the Lions had, but even though I think a lot of that was Ben Johnson's creation, I think Tanner is going to bring a lot of West Coast principles, play action principles. It's going to look similar to the Lions. Obviously, we don't have the O-line talent of the Lions or really much of similar talent level as the Lions, but I think we're going to try to do some similar things, and we all know that the Lions probably had the best offense for like the past 3 years running in the NFL besides, up there with the Chiefs. And then finally for DC, we bring in Steve Wilkes. I wasn't a huge fan of this, although he has experience as a head coach in the DC. last coach for the 49ers. I think we're going to stick to our 4-3 man-heavy system. It's not going to change much from what we've been running the past seemingly 10 years since Revis was there. But I think if we added more talent to that run defense, our defense is going to be one of the top 10 in the league. I expect it to be again, especially with a defensive head coach. Tell us a little bit about the Giants coaching staff.
1 second. I just need to make sure I got the right guy.
All right, for sure. And Jets fan, get in the comments, man. Let me know y'all opinion. Just drop a letter grade for the hiring of Aaron Glenn. You know, I ain't really know how to feel. Personally, I wanted Ben Johnson. I wanted an offensive head coach, but you know, we go with another defensive guy, defensive guy who's a first-year head coach. And so I don't know how to. I'm liking it now because I think he's going to help the culture. I think it was deteriorating. A lot of negative stuff came out about the ownership group. But in saying that, man, we needed to make a change. You know, Jeff Albrecht, he was in a tough situation as an interim coach, but we didn't get it done. We was trashed down the stretch, trashed throughout the season. That just can't happen when you got the talent that we have on the roster. I know some people will say the Jets are a dumpster fire, but we honestly do got a lot of young talent on the roster.
All right, so from what I'm seeing, it don't even look like the Giants made any major coaching changes.
So how do you feel about the current staff?
Shit. Dayball's got to be on the hot seat at this point, I think. Same thing with Mike Kafka. Two offensive-minded guys, and the Giants don't got anything going for them on offense, haven't had anything going for them on offense in the past 2 years. But to make matters worse, Shane Bowen's first season as the Giants DC, I think the Giants were giving up, which was the Giants allowed 415 points a game, which was the 12th or in total this year. Yeah. Total points, which ranked like 12th, bottom 12 in the league. The amount of games that was blowouts kind of just baffled me. You can kind of see that guys weren't really playing to their potentials. And I think it could have things to do with scheme fits or just schemes not working well, because Shane Bowen and the Titans, he had the Titans defense crazy in all aspects, if I'm being honest. They allowed the fewest rushing yards from 2001 to 2020 or 2021 to 2023. So yeah, I think it's a dumpster fire, just like it adds to the dumpster fire.
I feel that. So our last thing with the overview, our last two things, and we'll make this quick, speeding up through here, is give me your off-season grade if your off-season were to come to fruition for the Giants, and then realistic season expectations.
I'll probably give, if what I say happens, probably like a B minus, something like that around there, a B, solid B. Just because it's the Giants, I know they'll find some way to fuck some shit up. But, I'm more of a show me type of guy. You can have some of the best names on paper and, still not be as projected. I'm pretty sure the Giants were projected to be way better than they were this year, and you see what happened. So, kind of just going to have to show me.
You can put a number on it?
For what?
The record.
Oh, I want to say they'll probably go between 7-10 and 6-11, somewhere in there.
I feel that. I feel like if the offseason go this way, I give it a B plus. I think the new coaching staff is what I'm most excited about. Just getting new guys, new voices in that building. So I said a B plus. The only reason I didn't go an A is because we didn't get a quarterback besides Quinn Ewers, and quarterback is the most important position on the team. It's just another year where we gotta wait until we get better options, in my opinion. Jets fans, let's hold on and kumbaya together. Realistic season expectations, I do expect massive growth, though, for us to go from this may be too ambitious, and maybe it's the Jet fan in me. I'm not going to say Super Bowl like my boy was saying, but I said us to go from 5-12 to 11-6. I do believe that's middle of the pack. I believe we got a chance if we get a nice bridge quarterback to be fighting for playoff position, because I do think our roster is talented. But, I think we're going to win more games than last year. I think we're going to win more than 5 games for sure.
Got to.
Yeah.
Got to.
I think we got a chance to have a solid draft and solid free agency. I think players are going to want to play for Aaron Glenn and the new staff.
Definitely.
Moving on real quick. Let's do the conference championships for NCAA. Get into that real quick, and we're going to breeze right through this here. So who you had for the Big 12?
Big 12, give me 1 second. I was freaking looking off ESPN and started playing a freaking highlight video.
Well, real quick, I'll go real quick. Oh, if you ain't. You ready?
No, you good. You can go ahead.
For Big 12, I had Iowa State. I love their defense. I think they have a game that travels. Defense travels everywhere. And so I went with the Iowa State Cyclones in the Big 12 tournament.
Okay. Like you said, Big 12, there's a lot of good, hard, gritty teams. And I'm kind of just doing this based off of head just to kind of give you guys like a real deal type of thing. Houston's good. They've only lost 1 game in conference play. But we all know once conference tournaments come around and March Madness comes around, that's when college teams, I guess you can say, kind of start playing for real, and all that other stuff goes out the window. The only reason I'm not going to say Iowa State is just because I haven't really kept up with them. I know they're dealing with some injuries right now. So I don't know if those guys are going to be playing. I'm going to go with Texas Tech. They've surprised me this year. They're ranked top 10 in the nation right now. One of the pretty much how Texas is summed up, hard, gritty on the defensive end. Their defense translates to their offense. And I think they beat, who was the one team that beat Houston? I don't know who was the one team that beat Houston, but it might have been Texas Tech. I know Texas Tech can go toe-to-toe with Houston. So,
for sure. Moving on to the Big Ten.
It was Texas Tech in overtime.
For sure. Yeah. I expect to be a hyper competitive. Except for one conference, I don't expect to be competitive at all. But
you got to be the
Big 12 is definitely one. Yeah. For the Big Ten, who you had winning in the Big Ten?
Big Ten is kind of up in the air for me too. There's a lot of decent teams in the Big Ten. I probably want to go with Michigan. They're another gritty team. They find ways to pull out wins. Their team plays together. Tom Izzo, one of the best coaches to play for in the NCAA. They had a 15-3 record in conference play, and I really don't see them slowing down at any point. They've literally, I'm not going to say manhandled, but I've seen them play underdogs in a lot of these games, and they'll be in any game that they're in.
So they do what they're supposed to do.
Yep.
I went with Maryland for the Big Ten. I like their freshman center that they have. I expect them to go top 10 in the draft. And I think they have some guys some pieces around him to really go forward in his Big 12 play. Now, I did pick them to win. Big Ten. I did pick them to win. I'm not sure they will. But I am most excited about seeing what they do in this conference tournament. And I think they have a shot. Moving on to... let's go with, in my opinion, this is going to be the most competitive conference tournament,
Definitely.
And that's the SEC.
This is probably the toughest conference in the nation this year. Yeah. Honestly, I feel like any of the top 5 teams can win in this. But just to do it, I'm going to go with Florida. Seems like they're getting hot at the right time. They got an elite scorer in Walter Clayton Jr. They have the defense and the grit. They have a couple 7-footers on their team. They rebound really well. They shoot the 3-ball really well. They move in transition really well. And that's the big thing that I think, to knock off a team like Auburn, you kind of have to be able to play at their pace, be physical with them, and I think Florida matches that tempo and physicality.
Yeah, this is a hard one for me too. So much so that I went with like a either or out of these two teams. I think it's going to be Auburn. They're physically dominant on the defensive end, good on the offensive end as well. Got a National Player of the Year contender. Might as well say finalist damn near at this point. And then my other team was Tennessee.
They're
Tennessee,
good.
They play well. I think Tennessee does well to get up for the big games. So I expect them to come to play in this tournament. But like you said, any of the top 5 can pull it out. In my opinion, and surprise I might throw in there is Kentucky as well. Moving on to the ACC. I feel like we probably got the same answer. I don't expect this to be that controversial, but who'd you have winning the ACC?
Duke. That's pretty plain and simple. Duke's a top 2 team in the nation. Cooper Flagg's doing what Cooper Flagg was expected to do. They're playing at a really good level. They did lose to Clemson, which was kind of, I think it was at Clemson. I don't see that happening again. And I just don't think there's really teams in the ACC with the capability or the players to kind of play to Duke's style. I really don't even see any of this kind of being... I can see games being like 10, 15-point games, something like that, but I don't really see any close games. But like I said, it's March Madness, so anything can happen. But if Duke plays how they're supposed to, they cruise through this tournament easily. And they probably head into, depending on how the other tournaments go, they might head into the NCAA tournament as the number 1 overall seed.
That's what I expect, honestly. And I think with that is going to come massive health. I mean, they already got a young team, but I expect help too, because I think they're going to blow a lot of these teams out in the ACC. I think with the new, the way the TV contracts are set up and things of that nature and investment in sports, I think Duke, they've always been at the top of college basketball, but I think that gap is actually going to widen in the conference-wise because a lot of ACC teams just aren't investing in basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, they played Florida State in the past 3 days, and they beat them by 35 points.
They beat the hell out of them.
Yes. So Duke is a team. Duke and UNC are the schools that are going to invest majority of their bread. UNC invested in Bill Belichick, but they're going to invest the majority of their bread into basketball. And I expect Duke to run away with this ACC conference championship. And I would actually say Cooper Flagg's been playing above expectations, at least mine.
Yeah.
So he's looking great. I think he's solidified number 1 pick, and I think he's going to continue to show that.
His game's very above. It's way, like light years above what it's supposed to be.
For sure. And keep in mind, he's going to be the youngest draft prospect in this class. Like, the boy reclassified. Oh, yeah. So he's incredible. He's going to change somebody's franchise.
Him and Wemby?
What happened?
Him and Wemby?
Yeah, that'll be crazy. But I think he's going to go somewhere like, I don't know, like Toronto, Charlotte or something like that. Charlotte been playing a little deeper. They might have played out of his range, but Wemby will be nice too. Maybe New Orleans, him and Zion or something like that. Or the Phoenix Suns. But I digress.
Shit, they're going to need somebody after KD leave.
What?
That boy out of there.
The S2 Cognition Test, we'll make this pretty quick. This is a long episode tonight, y'all.
I'm just going to mute myself really quick. I just got to do one thing.
For sure. So I'll talk about the cognition test a little bit. So it's a test that sports sports organizations and leagues have been getting to test cognitive abilities and things of that nature, different things when it comes to the literal action on whatever playing field these athletes are playing on. Today we're going to discuss a little bit about the NFL and its S2 Cognition Test by position. I had the defense, so just to make it real quick, defensive line, that's ends and tackles. Important things are going to be perception, speed, impulse control, and timing control. All that is about being reactionary and pre-actionary for what you're trying to do with the offensive line, how you can react to them, how good your eyes are, and things of that nature. For the linebackers, I had, give me 1 second. Similar things as a defensive line, distraction control, instinctive learning, meaning recognizing routes and patterns as they come, learning and knowing your gaps and sticking to them, and not doing false steps as a linebacker. Because as a guy that played linebacker, false steps is the difference, in my opinion, between a tackle for loss, a short gain, and a home run play by the offense. So all that is super important, and the test goes in about that. And then finally, it was the DBs. It's a little bit different for the corners and safeties. Specifically for the cornerbacks, it's perception, speed. You got to recognize routes. You're running backwards. By the way, I know DBs like to say that corners is the second hardest position to play in the NFL. I disagree. I think it's linebacker. I just like to throw that out there because you're going backwards and forwards as well, and you got run gaps to understand and know too.
You got to be a cornerback and a D lineman.
Facts. And to be honest, knowing all that, like, you kind of got to be the quarterback of the entire defense. For real. And most offenses are designed around targeting linebackers. Most offenses are designed around getting the linebackers out of gaps, getting them out in space, making them think. So I think linebacker is the hardest position to play besides quarterback in the NFL. But I digress. So cornerbacks is perception, speed, like I talked about, impulse control, resisting, biting on fakes with the impulse control, distraction control, maintaining focus, and keeping your assignments. We saw a play in a national championship where a Notre Dame DB left Jeremiah Smith wide open. You saw it occur, but he stuck to his assignment. He did the right thing. Ultimately, I understand not wanting to get chewed out for missing your assignment. They probably would have scolded anyways.
I'm crying.
And then finally for safeties, is instinctive learning. It's deep coverages and patterns you got to know, decision complexity, and manipulation. So, of course, the quarterback is trying to manipulate the safeties as well. Peyton Manning was a genius at that. Tom Brady, the greats of the game. We're all geniuses at manipulating the safeties because they hold that deep coverage shell, and they control the middle of the field. So safety is also hard to play, but those are the things those are things that the S2 cognitive test in reaction to your play on the field from the defensive side of the ball. Tell us a little bit about the quarterbacks, my guy.
Alrighty. So, quarterbacks, like you said, it's pretty much the intangibles of being a quarterback. It has to deal with your instincts, anticipation, defensive play recognition, the ability, when it comes time to make clutch plays and all that. Those aren't what you can say like invisible skills anymore. Those can all be graded with the S2 testing. And it provides, the quarterbacks with in-game situations, provides targets on the field, training exercises so that, when it comes up in the clutch, teams can kind of see how you're ready and anticipating towards that. It has to do with visual learning, decision complexity, distraction control, tracking capacity, impulse control, instinctive learning, and how a quarterback can improvise. I believe, just kind of to put it into perspective, I believe they said C.J. Stroud scored like one of the lowest scores on it. And then he came and had one of the best rookie years. But then you see what happened his sophomore year, which I'm hoping is just a sophomore slump. Or it could have been, the test was actually pretty accurate because he did not have a good year this year on any types of levels, if you ask me. And then it just separates, the quarterbacks with the best minds from the rest. Give me 1 second.
Real quick, while he's taking that second, another person who scored in the 92nd percentile on offense was Justin Jefferson, wide receiver, for the things that test for in wide receivers. I didn't look at that information, but I do know he tested really high. Obviously, we know Justin Jefferson, if he's not number one, he's a top 2 receiver in the NFL.
Yeah. But, and then just kind of, it has to do with the split second dynamic situations. And then if they notice things faster than other players, just to kind of go off of that. And it also gives you a view of the quarterback's skill set coming into the NFL, see what they have to work on. And I believe since it's been going on for a while, there's been about 200, it's been used for either 200 or a little bit over 200 quarterbacks. And like you said, the range for top tier starters is about 74 to 91. The lower tier starters, 80 to 90. Backup role players, 15 to 99. And then never signed or rostered, 1 to 99 range.
Yeah, I was in about the 0 section. I wonder can regular people take the test, though? That'll be like, I just think that'll be funny to show, like, the difference again. Like, one of my favorite shows was Pros versus Joes. So,
hey, throwback.
Yeah. So just yeah, I'm showing my age, but just that'll be like a good showing right there instead of like, because if you do like how Tyreek Hill, how he even got routed up by some jits sometime, like that's in a one-off little setting. It don't really anybody get routed up, especially when they trying to guess what you're doing. So if it can show your actual testing numbers and those ranges against professional athletes, I think that'll be a dope like little showing and stuff like that. Hope nobody don't steal that idea, but if they do, get a credit to the 32 Innings Podcast, man, for sure. But it's been a good podcast tonight, long podcast, informational podcast, man. Second one this week. Appreciate you for coming on, my guy. And, it's been fire, and y'all get in the comments. Subscribe to the channel, man. Subscribe been going up, but keep subscribing. Go watch our videos. We'll have more clips dropping to episode 88. This is episode 89. Y'all holler. Anything else, my boy?
We good.